Okay, so all are ready, then we can start now.
Yes, ma'am, we can start.
Okay, so I'll stop screen share.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One minute. Shall we begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Ready? Okay. So good evening, everyone. Good evening, respected Father Blaze, our manager, Dr. Susama Samuel, our principal, our colleagues, and our resource person, Ms. ZARA PAREKH, and all our participants. We have today a webinar series on strategies and solutions for boosting mathematics learning. The student coordinators for this webinar are Ms. Alsona Gomes, Mr. Neville Sharma, and Ms. Riesel Gonzalez. This webinar has been hosted from ZARA Zoom platform. This webinar series is an initiative of the Mathematics Pedagogy Unit of St. Xavier's Institute of Education. The main objective of this webinar series is to understand the various patterns of mathematics education and to foresee the mathematical needs of students in the present times and in future. Since it is a webinar series and we have so many participants from different parts of the globe, I would say from India, from Kuwait, from Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Singapore and UAE. So we are quite overwhelmed with this participation. We have 1,084 participants who have registered, and we have a wide variety of participants. We have students, we have student teachers, we have college professors from higher education, we have teacher educators, we have parents, and we have special educators. So we are so happy that we have a whole community who is interested in mathematics education, and we would like to take this forward. So since we started it very small, but now looking at the participation, we are very much motivated to take it a step further. So we urge you to write to us if you are very passionate about mathematics education, because this is going to be a web series, a monthly web series. So we would need resource persons. So in the brochure there is an email ID. So we would like you to communicate with us. So with these words, I request Father Blaise D'Souza, our manager, to say a few words to us. Father Blaise.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, Father.
Good afternoon to all of you. I didn't expect to be having to say a few words to such a large audience and viewers. The other webinars or programs that I've attended have had a smaller group. So with such a large number, I can see that there are many people who are interested in learning how to make mathematics attractive and something that people will understand. And I think particularly teachers, those who are going to be teachers, are the ones who are trying to get the benefit of this program. I'm not a mathematics expert myself. I am an economics graduate, and yet I realized that I couldn't do economics unless I knew something of mathematics for economics, calculus, statistics. In school, we all as students begin to perhaps think, I mean, this is such a tough subject, such a difficult subject to understand. And so perhaps we wonder often whether it is really necessary for life. And yet, as you grow up, you begin to see that You cannot do anything in life without mathematics, some field of mathematics. Every science is practically connected with mathematics. Mathematics is a tool to make the sciences more specific, more measurable, not purely theoretical. And it applies to almost every field of science and perhaps even of some arts and medicine. You can't do without it. In the world, you cannot do without mathematics. You are dealing with the market, you are dealing with money, you are dealing almost with everything that involves calculation, counting, um, adding, subtracting, dividing, all sorts of things. And yet, I think that mathematics is something that is connected with logic and reasoning in a specific way. I didn't think that it was connected with logic. But unless you are logical in your thinking and in your reasoning, it becomes difficult to really understand what mathematics is all about. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Perhaps other people will say something different or something more. But when I started entering the classroom, and if it was a mathematics class, I would usually ask a question. If it was something in algebra, I would ask a question from algebra and say, most probably you all might be able to give me that answer very quickly. 5 apples and 3 mangoes. How much is that? Tell me. 5 apples plus 3 mangoes. How much is that? The immediate answer that would come from students was 8. Is that correct? Is it 8? Then I would ask, 8 what? 8 mangoes? 8 apples? 8 fruit salad? What is it? So then people would begin to think, there are different variables involved. Mangoes and apples are not the same. And so in algebra, there are different variables. And the addition, multiplication, subtraction of these variables is not always what we would generally think. It gives us something more. It shows us how many things come together to make one whole. And that is the way I have looked at mathematics. I would ask also, which is the most stable shape or structure? All ordinary people, even people in the villages, perhaps know that. And every one of you would perhaps know that. Which is the most stable structure? This is a geometrical question. The most stable structure. A sphere, a triangle, a square. And then when you look at life and what people do to have the most stable structure, you will see that they use the triangle, which is able to support a lot of weight. And so perhaps you learned in even in science or physics that bridges have got angles in the shape of triangles that keep the structure very strong and very stable. Now these are concepts that perhaps we are not always conscious of, though we use them even perhaps without thinking. And mathematics is in a way trying to give what I would call shape or form to our way of thinking with regard to space, with regard to time, with regard to energy, with regard to different fields of science, right up to the field of space, astronomy, even in a field in the villages. Farmers have to measure their fields, volume, how much they put in. So measuring and using mathematical concepts is a very common phenomenon, and yet perhaps we are not always very familiar with it. these days during this corona pandemic, every day there are figures being given on TV, statistics. How many are affected? How many recover? How many die? Are we able to picture what that means, those figures? They refer to some realities. And so my dear participants, I hope that you will, through these sessions, this webinar, you will be able to get into understanding mathematics a little more simply and in a way which will make it not only attractive and interesting for you, but also so that you might learn to make it interesting and attractive to all students. We often feel it is a field only of specialists, and if you look at life, you will see everybody is using mathematics in some form or the other, in some way or the other. And yet perhaps we are not always conscious that we need to calculate, we need to measure, we need to count, we need to look at time, distance, and things like this, which in a way affect our lives. I wish you all success, and I hope you will get the best out of it. As I said right at the beginning, the very fact that so many registered for it, not all could be part of it, means that you have felt that it is an important dimension of our lives, and especially an important dimension of our teaching. Thank you all very much, and wish you all the best. I wish all the best to the resource persons, to the organizers, to Dr. Vinny Sebastian, to the students who are helping in making this webinar a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for your kind words. We have 100 participants on Zoom and the rest of them are on YouTube, Father.
Yes,
so we have a big number even on YouTube. So now we request Dr. Susama Samuel, our principal, to say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vinny. Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome all to this. Good afternoon, Father.
Good afternoon.
I welcome all to this webinar conducted by the Mathematics Pedagogy Unit on strategies and solutions for boosting mathematics learning. On behalf of St. Xavier's Institute of Education, I welcome our manager, Father Blaise D'Souza, our today's resource person, Ms. ZARA, PAREKH, all faculty members and participants. Today's our topic is augmenting student engagement of elementary and special children in mathematics. The broad objective of this webinar is to discuss mathematics, to develop interest in learning mathematics as well as teaching mathematics as a school subject, the importance of mathematics in our daily life, and also discuss what are the barriers and how to learn mathematics with ease and fun. Overall, I can say the broad objective of this webinar is to discuss the quality of mathematics education. There is a saying that the best food for brain is mathematics learning. Sometimes we think that the best food for brain is almonds or walnuts, but it is not. The best food for brain is learning mathematics. The interest in mathematics in children should be developed right from a very young age. Instead of children liking mathematics, I feel they should fall in love with mathematics. So if they fall in love with mathematics, definitely there will be a number of eureka moments in their life, definitely. So this webinar will definitely give us ideas, strategies and solutions for boosting mathematics learning and teaching. On behalf of St. Xavier's Institute of Education, I appreciate the effort taken by Dr. Vinny Sebastian, Associate Professor, and her pedagogy units in conducting this seminar. Dr. Vinny, this is a good initiative from Mathematics Unit all the best to all the participants also, and all the best to the today's resource person, Ms. Asha Parekh. And Dr. Vinny, all the best for the lecture series. So take it to the next level. All the best. Let it be a very successful venture. So thank you very much, and all the best to all participants. Over to Dr. Vinny.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring words. And I can see that all of us are eager for the session. Participants, please remember that this is a 2-day webinar. So today we have at 4 o'clock, and tomorrow the time is at 11 o'clock. And the same procedures will be followed tomorrow. So a few instructions: please keep yourself muted throughout the session, and also your cameras off, so that we can have a smooth session. The chat box is on for your questions. All questions unfortunately cannot be taken. A few will be picked up by the student coordinators, and we would be presenting it to the resource persons. But if you have the questions, you can also write to me on my email ID, and we can answer those questions. Now I request our student coordinator, Mr. Neville Sharma, to introduce our resource person, and then we will start the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. ZARA Parekh is a math, language, and interdisciplinary teacher at Gateway, which is a school for the children with special needs. Ms. ZARA also has a 2-year fellowship with Teach for India. She has a degree in psychology and has worked for an NGO committed to multidisciplinary rehabilitation to improve the quality of life of people with Parkinson's and their families. She is an expert at managing students who have learning difficulties. Hence the topic for today: augmenting student engagement of elementary and children with special needs. So, without further delay, I would like to call upon Ms. ZARA to begin her session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neville. It's a real honor to be here. Like many of you have mentioned, being on such a large platform, I really do hope I do justice to this session. I don't think I would go so far as to call myself an expert, but yes, I have experienced a lot of learning in my experiences with Teach for India and now at the Gateway School of Mumbai. Before we begin the session, I'd like to just mention that I am an elementary and lower school teacher. So this is pertaining to elementary and lower school. And a lot of the things that I do in my session with you today, I actually do with my students in the classroom. So I will be modeling a lot that I do with my class, with you guys, for you to really experience the whole thing holistically. Okay, so we're gonna start. I'm gonna share my screen. And we're going to start with a 1-minute getting ready timer, which will allow all of you to just leave everything that you started your day with and just calm yourselves down, maybe get a cup of coffee or tea, get some water, get cozy. But we're going to do 1 minute of getting ready, and then we'll begin. Okay, so welcome. Neville has already told you a little about me. Yes, I graduated with a psychology degree, and through my degree, I tutored a lot of children that were struggling in their schools, which led me to realize that I want to pursue education in the future. Through my 2 years with Teach for India, I taught in a BMC school where I taught a classroom through grade 4 and grade 5. And during that experience, what I realized was it was the children that were struggling in my classroom the most that I personally wasn't able to reach. And so I realized that I need to learn more and I need to get more experience in order for myself to cater to my struggling learners in the classroom. And that is why I joined the Gateway School of Mumbai, a school for kids with special needs, for me to enhance my experience and learning. And so with that, we can start. The topic for today, as many of us have mentioned, is to augment or to booster student engagement in math classes for our elementary children and children with special needs. And so I am focusing on lower school, and I'm focusing on how to build engagement in the classroom. And so we're learning 2 goals for the day. Okay, you will leave this session having understood what the purpose of learning mathematics is, the why of teaching math, And then we're going to move on to the strategies that we can use in our classrooms to engage students in mathematics. So the why of teaching math and the how of teaching math. You're going to leave the session understanding these two things. For our session to go extremely smoothly, we have some materials and expectations to have in check. You need a fully charged laptop or a fully charged cell phone. You need a notebook and a pen so that you can constantly take back all the takeaways and learnings through the session and stay engaged through the process. You are going to need your paper and pen during the session. So if you don't have it right now, I suggest you get them right away. In the meantime, a couple of expectations that we need for our session to go as smoothly as possible is to please keep your videos off. And I can see that all of you have. Mute yourself while I'm talking so that there are less distractions. And I love that all of you already have. Super job, all of you. Please keep the chat appropriate and respectful at all times. And most importantly, through the session, have a ready body. Now, what does that look like? I need you to have an arm's length distance from your screen so that you're not straining your eyes. I need you to have a back that's straight and upright. I need you to have looking eyes on your screen and listening ears at the speaker. If you have all of that in check, we can tick this off and begin. So here's our plan. We have finished talking about the goal, the plan, and our expectations. We're going to move to the purpose, then take a quick movement break because we'll have been in our seats for really long by now, and then go into strategies and the big takeaways from today's session. So let's start with what the purpose of teaching mathematics is. At this point, I'm going to throw a poll at the Zoom viewers. YouTube viewers, I'd like you to answer this question in the chat section, and I can see it there. So right away, I'm going to launch a poll and you will see it on your screens. And I would like all the viewers, can you see the, yeah, I want all the, oh, I can already see responses coming in. Your question is, what do you think the purpose of learning mathematics is? Oh, wow. Okay, so I already have a large number of responses coming in. What is the purpose of learning mathematics? YouTube viewers, I'm going to read the options that I've given to all the Zoom viewers. I've written your options are to score well in an exam, to solve real-world problems, to make your family proud, or to win math competitions. What do you think the answer to this is? 50 seconds up. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds of thinking time and responding. Okay, and we're going to close the poll. I love that there are already about, on my Zoom, there are 76, 78, there are 80 responses. Thank you to the 80 people that have already answered. We have 100 people on this chat, and that's quite a few. And so I'm going to close this in 5. Super job to all those that have already answered. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll here and share the results with all of you. YouTube viewers, I'm going to, oh my God. So I can see everybody in the chat with the YouTube viewers are all saying that the purpose of learning math is to solve real world problems. And that's what 95% of you have said as well. And the 2% that have said to score well in an exam and to win math competitions, you're not wrong. It is true that you do need mathematics to learn in an exam and to win math competitions. And both exams and math competitions are real world scenarios, but the crux of it as a teacher is for you to realize that your children need to be able to solve real world problems. So all of you, thank you so much for responding. You can give yourselves a pat on your back and a kiss to your brain because you did a super job. I'm going to stop sharing this poll. Thank you, YouTube viewers, for putting in your answers into the chat. Next, we come to the real purpose, right? So the purpose of learning mathematics is to develop mathematical thinking so that we can solve real world problems. Just like Father mentioned in his speech, right? We need to give our kids that mathematical thinking and the skills to solve real world problems. Now let's get into what these real world problems are and why I'm stressing on them so much. Okay. To do this, we're going to get into an activity. You're going to need a notebook and pencil as mentioned at the start of the session, and you're going to get 2 minutes to solve 2 questions that I pose on the screen. Here are your questions. The first question is to calculate the area of a rectangular house measuring 15 meters long and 8 meters wide.
Zara ma'am,
Yes.
the poll is on the screen, so we can't see the question. So can you remove the poll?
I have. You will just have to close it personally.
Okay.
Okay. I've ended the sharing of the poll. Thank you. Okay. So calculate the area of a rectangular house measuring 15 meters long and 8 meters wide. And your second question is to design your dream house. Your 2 minutes starts now. If you've done this, please send pictures on the WhatsApp group for us to see. Pens down, and hopefully you were able to answer your questions. Okay. So after you've done this activity, here's my question for you. There are 2 questions that you just attempted to answer, and super job to all those that already have. My question now is, which of these problems do you think is a typical exam related problem, something that you would find in a textbook or in an exam for a child to solve? And which do you think is a dream house? If you realized something like calculating the area of a rectangular house is probably something that's very typically found in an exam, whereas something like designing your dream house is something that you possibly would really want to do. It's a real world scenario, right? You may want to design your dream house or something that you're able to design yourself so that you can live in that mansion of yours, right? So here we found out the difference between an exam problem and a real problem. And here's what I want to talk to you about. You probably, almost all of you, were able to figure this calculating the area problem because it was extremely straightforward, right? Whereas designing your dream house has so many different complexities that you need to think about. While designing, you probably came up with a rough sketch of what your house looks like. You probably have a vague idea. I know some of the responses said they'd like a garden in their backyard, or someone might want a swimming pool or a play area. You might have some ideas building in your head, but did you actually have time to go through the dimensions of your house? Have you already checked your finances to check if you have the budget for your dream house? Have you already spoken with an architect? Have you got an interior designer? Designing your dream house has many, many more complexities to it. There are many more factors to consider versus calculating the area, which was a rather straightforward problem. Now, when you are teaching your children math, they're not interested in that straightforward problem. And you as a teacher need to develop that mathematical thinking in your child for them to be able to strategize and answer all these different complexities. You need to give them the skills to go ahead and really be able to design their dream house. Next, in the 2 minutes that I gave you, you most definitely were able to calculate the area of the rectangular house. But like I mentioned earlier, it's probably not possible to design your dream house in just 2 minutes. It is a process that takes time. It takes days. It maybe takes months. And that long-term process is something that you need to help your students go through. So instead of doing 20 sums on the board with your math kids in your classroom, take one problem and draw it out and explain to the kids that in the real world, things are not going to happen in the snap of a finger. It's going to take time. It's going to be a process. And we need to demonstrate that to our kids. Next, designing your dream house versus an exam problem like calculating the area. What approach are you teaching your kids to take? An approach where they shouldn't ask for help from anybody, or an approach that's collaborative? When you calculated the area of a house, you did that alone, just by yourself. But designing your dream house is not possible without the help of your accountant, of your architect, of your carpenters. There are so many people that you need to learn how to collaborate with. And being able to collaborate is a skill that teachers need to teach their students at the youngest age possible. Build that creativity and collaboration within your classroom by using these real world problems versus telling them that this exam problem is what you need to be trained to learn. And most importantly, think of the purpose. Your kids are asking you, why do I need to learn how to measure a rectangular house? They're not imagining it. They're not understanding why I have to do this length into breadth formula. Versus designing your dream house gives them a purpose. It makes them excited in the classroom to share their opinions and share their voice. Each student in your classroom is telling their peers and their teacher what they imagine their dream house to be. And that is so exciting in a classroom. You're giving the child a space to voice what they want to share with the class. And just by doing that, you're building engagement in your classrooms. And so, have real world problems that have multiple complexities. Take time with your students. Don't finish it in day one, lesson one. Use a collaborative approach and have a purpose. Make sure your problems are genuine and something that the child can connect with. And that means, again, the purpose, let's come back to this. The purpose of learning mathematics is to develop that thinking so we can solve real world problems. And teachers, when you're lesson planning, if you start your lesson with thinking about a problem that your kids can really connect with and incorporating a real world problem, will then be your first strategy to build engagement. Okay, let's have a look at our plan. This leaves us with the next part of our plan. We're done with understanding the purpose, and we've been in our chairs for extremely long now. We need to give a break to our bodies and our eyes. Now, I know that all of you have your videos off, but I'm hoping you'll follow through with me because you're only going to be able to engage and build active participation if you move your body and give your body and eyes a break. So move your laptop screens away from you and stand up. Stand up. I'll actually stop sharing my screen so you can see me better. Okay. So stand up to everybody and stretch your arms out wide. Stretching, 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 and bring your palms to your waist. And now let's give ourselves an eye break by looking away from our screens. Turn left and look at something far away from you for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Turn right and look at something far away. Give your eyes the break they're screaming for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let's look up for 5, 4, 3. Excellent job to all those who are doing this actively. 2 seconds and 1. And now let's give our bodies a break. Shake your right hand, shake, 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 shake. Shake your left hand, shake, shake, shake. Shake your right leg, shake, shake, shake. Shake your left leg, shake, shake, shake. And now shake your full body. You need movement, you need to be active. Get off that chair that you've been sitting for so long and get shaking. Come back, rub your palms, rub, 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 rub. Make sure there's a lot of heat in your palms. And put them on your eyes for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And again, last time. Rub, 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 rub. Lots of heat. Rub, rub, rub. And in onto your eyes in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hopefully you have let your body move. Bring your laptops again, arm's distance away from your laptop to protect your eyes. And we can come back. I'm going to share my screen. Awesome. So let's look at the plan once again. We are done with our movement break. And the next part of our plan is more strategies to engage students in your math classes. Okay, let's come back to our goal. Remember at the start of the session, we mentioned that the first thing to learn is the purpose of learning mathematics. If you can't understand the why, you're not going to be able to teach your kids best. Remember to keep incorporating the purpose and ensuring that you have real-world problems in your lessons. Let's move to the next strategies to engage our students in mathematics. So for this part, I'm going to share a modeling of me teaching my classroom for you to understand how I have connected real world problems and building engagement in my class. So I pose this picture in front of my students and I say, hey guys, you can see that I've posted a picture up here. Can you take a look at it and can we talk about it? Just let's talk. Can we talk about it? And they say, yeah, sure, let's chat. And now I'm going to model how I talk about the math with my kids to build engagement in the classroom. So I tell my kids, can you tell me what you can see, what you are thinking, and what you are wondering about this picture? And they say, and they all raise silent hands. In a perfect classroom, of course, you will have kids that blurt out the answer. But anyway, so a child says, Ms. Zara, I've got it. And I say, what have you got? And he says, well, I can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 tables over here. Great observation. Another child shares that they can see 2 people are sitting on each table or can sit on each table. Super job. And then a third student says, hey, my friends just said that there are tables and chairs in this picture. I'm thinking, is this a picture of a restaurant? And I say, it's exactly that. It's a picture of your restaurant. Any of you want to name this restaurant? And then they all talk to each other to see which restaurant would excite them the most. And they say, I want it to be a pizza restaurant. Someone else says, I want it to be a Chinese restaurant. And they start talking and allow that conversation. Because allowing that conversation allows your kids to get excited about what's coming, right? Then I ask them, okay, guys, you all shared with me that you have 6 tables and each table seats 2 people. Can anybody share with me how many people can sit in this restaurant? And they're thinking, and I give them that thinking time, and I say 5 more seconds to think. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they answer. Can you tell me what answer you got? And one of them says 12, and I say, whoa, can you share with us how you got your answer? And they say, okay, I can see that each table seats 2 people. So I skip counted 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Excellent job. That was amazing. And I loved how you expressed the strategy that you used. Has anybody in the class done this differently? And they're thinking and they're thinking. And another student says, Ms. Zara, I just know that 6 times 2 is 12. I don't need to do skip counting. Excellent. So if you know your tables, you've got that. But if you're struggling to figure that out, guys, let's use your other friend's strategy as well. Skip counting is a beautiful way to understand how many people are sitting in this restaurant. Okay. Then they're thinking, and I ask them, guys, what happens if 20 people are standing in a line waiting to enter your popular pizza restaurant? And they go, oh yeah, what will happen then? And another child shares, well, I mean, if 12 people can sit in this restaurant and there are 20 outside, let's bring in the first 12. And then I count to 20 to see how many people are waiting outside. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Ms. Zara, there are 8 people standing outside. I love how you shared your thinking with the whole class to understand that if there are 20 people outside and you let 12 in, there will be 8 people waiting outside. Super job. My next question. Okay, guys, can you think of any other way or any other observations that you're making from this picture? Are you wondering or thinking about anything else? And I keep pushing them to think beyond what they can see. And then a student says, I'm wondering that 12 people is just too little in a restaurant. Can we fit another table in this little gap over here? And I say, hey, that's a brilliant observation. And then I ask the class, so if we add another table here, how many people can sit in the restaurant now? And then they say, well, there were 12 to start with. Each table can seat 2. So I add 2 to 12 and I get 14. So do you see how I have built in so many mathematical thinking questions for the kids to answer? And they've probably not even realized this. Just because it's a math class does not mean I sit with questions on the board and make them solve it. I make them think beyond. And so the strategy that I'm using here is just talking about the math. It's not a language class, it's a math class. But I allow them to talk. I allow them to share with their partners. If your class is too large to have a conversation like this, group them up and ask them to think about different strategies that they use. And constantly ask questions to your students like, hey, how did you get your answer? Because when they share what they're thinking, the students in your classroom that may not be so sure of how to get that answer are automatically learning from their peer. It's not coming from their teacher saying, hey, you don't know it. It's okay not to know. Now's your chance to learn it from your friend. Your friend is explaining this to you, right? And it's happening so automatically. So the child doesn't feel left out. It gives them more confidence to share because now they know the strategy. They just have to raise their hand and share that they agree. And so, what strategy did you use? And if they don't have a strategy, all you have to do is, hey, but did you agree with your friend's strategy? Yes or no? And if yes, then why? If no, then why? Ask them who agrees and ask, did anyone do it differently? Keep pushing them to think of different ways so that your friends and your classmates understand that there's more than just one way of answering that question. Okay, so what did I do in this strategy? I showed them a visual and then all we did was talk. Visual and talking. Talking about the math is a powerful strategy to engage your children in the math, to build that mathematical thinking, and like Principal Ma'am and Father shared, to build that love for mathematics. You will automatically see a shift in your students because now they're seeing a real world problem. They're seeing that they can connect with this. They've all been to restaurants before. They're all able to share what they're thinking. And you're giving equal opportunities to everyone in your class to share by telling them, if you're unable to come up with a strategy, just tell me what you see. I see a brown bench. I see a beige table. I see a wooden floor. Any responses are welcome. Celebrate every response in your classroom. And so that's talking about the math. For the next strategy, we're going to go back into activity time because I've been talking too much. You need your pencil and your paper, and you have 2 minutes for this activity. Here, you need to listen, and as I'm telling you what you need to do, you need to draw. Okay, so let's just listen first. Okay, you are the owner of your own restaurant, and you have space to fit 30 people in your restaurant, 30. But every single table has to have an equal number of people sitting on each table. So again, maximum 30 people each table needs to have an equal number of seats. What kind of layouts are you going to make? I want you to draw out your restaurant and lay it out, and then take a picture and share it on the WhatsApp groups for me to see. If you don't want to share them, that's fine, but I want you to put it down, okay? Draw your layout of a restaurant however you want. Be as creative as you want. You have 2 minutes to do this. Okay, great to see so many different responses on the chat. I love how every single person has visualized their restaurant differently, because everybody has a different way of thinking. I love it. Okay, so let's see some of the responses that your child or students would give you, right? They're all drawing at this point. Keep in mind, you've given them 2 full minutes to put down what they want to share. Their voice, their creativity, their uniqueness, yeah? And so, one child might say, you know what? I love going to restaurants where there are circular tables, because then I can talk to everybody on the table. And so my restaurant has 6 circular tables with 5 people sitting on each. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Super job. And I love that personal connect where you shared with all of us that you love circular tables so that you can talk. I do too. That's a great way to lay out your restaurant. Another student now feels more validated to share. And they share, you know what, Ms. Zara, I imagined an enormous restaurant. And in my restaurant, because it's so big, I wanted 15 tables. And on each table, I'm going to have only 2 people. So 15 tables, 2 people on each, still gives me 30. That's excellent. I love that you consider the size of your restaurant layout. Super job. And then another one goes, oh, my restaurant wasn't so big. I used a slightly smaller restaurant and just had a thin horizontal space to put in 5 tables, and I seat 6 people each. And so there are different responses in your classroom, right? And I give specific feedback to each child about the round tables. They're talking about the size of their restaurant. They're deciding how many people they want on their tables. It's their voice. They're showing that they're different. And then another child might go, hey, I did the same as this one, and I did the same as her. And so they start feeling a sense of togetherness because they've done it like their friends, and they've also done it differently. They're able to feel that sense of similarity, and they're also able to share how they are different in a classroom, right? And so, what did I do over here? I drew the math, right? I drew the math. So what did I do? We talk about the math, and then we draw it out. And then the last thing that we do is share. We share about everything that we are doing. And we celebrate everybody's thoughts. And we recognize that everybody is different. And through that activity, we've gotten so many different ways of dividing 30. So through all the strategies that I did, I brought in engagement using real world problems. I allowed my kids to share their thinking with their peers and with me. I made them talk to each other so that they're collaborating and sharing their creative ways of doing things. And I'm celebrating them all the time so that they are positively reinforced to participate in my class and to build active engagement. And so with that, we have reached the end of strategies to engage students in mathematics. Let's look at the last bit, which are the big takeaways from this session. Okay. So when I think of the takeaways that you will leave the session with, I think of them twofold. It starts with explicit, and then I talk about implicitly, what are you taking away from the session that you as teachers can put into your plans right away when you lesson plan. Okay. So explicitly, I said, when you're lesson planning, please use real world problems that your students can connect with, that they think are genuine, and that they think are purposeful. so that they are more motivated to engage in your class. Next, I talked about the math. Let your class just have a chat about the math. Let them build on their mathematical thinking out loud and share what they've learned. And I drew the math. I allowed each child to show their learning through visuals. They created their own models, and then I show each one their models so that everybody is learning from each other. It's a community at that point. Very simple strategies that anybody can do, no matter what the demographic of your class is, no matter what the size of your class is. Simple and easy to take back for any of you that are watching this. Implicitly, there were many structures and routines that I put into this plan that I really do with my students to keep them engaged, which I did with all of you. Let's have a look. So we start with expectations. We shared the expectations and the materials with all of you beforehand. Okay, I told you all what you need to keep ready, and I told you what I need you to do in the classroom so that I can redirect that behavior. I love that I can see all of you with your videos off. I love that you all have all put yourselves on mute. I love that you all have all shared on the WhatsApp group. Positively narrating behavior encourages the students that are not doing this to then go ahead and do it, because they want Ms. Zara to love what they're doing. They want the teacher's validation. Okay. We started our lesson with a getting ready timer so that we can put all our thoughts from the past away. Your students are going from one class to another, to another, to another. They are tired. There's probably drama in that classroom. There's probably someone who's got the most yummiest food for lunch. They're distracted. Give them the space and time to say, hey guys, math class is starting. We need to forget everything else and take 1 minute to just set ourselves up for this class. So give them that time. It can be 1 minute, it can be 2, it can be 5. Give them that time, okay? Next, I shared with you from the start of the lesson what you're going to learn. Give your children the goal for the day. Guys, in today's class, we're going to be learning the why and how of teaching math. You will leave your classroom knowing this information, which helps the students understand what the teacher plans for them and what they're going to take away from this session if they're really paying attention. So give them the goal at the start so that they're not wondering, what is this teacher doing today? You know, they know exactly what you're doing. Next, give them the plan up front. Tell them, guys, I care about you. I have made this plan so I can help you stay focused in your class. Your kids will respond to you so much more differently if you tell them, guys, I took out the time to help you guys. They'll really appreciate it. And also giving the plan to them in advance helps them look forward to the things they're excited about. If they don't like something in the plan, they know that they can cross that hurdle and get to the movement break if they're feeling tired. So they know what they need to cross over and go to the next to finish their plan, right? So giving them the plan really helps build engagement because they're ready. They know what to expect. They don't think the class is going to go on and on forever. They know when it's going to end. Next, give them activity time or poll time. Teachers need to balance the talk time and the students' action time. You cannot have a 45-minute session with just the speaker going on and on. I'm tired of my own voice. Give your kids a break by embedding activities into this session, into your classroom. And they'll do it without realizing. Just embed it within your lesson. Give your kids a thinking structure. A lot of your kids may not be comfortable to stand up and talk in front of a large audience. They may feel anxious. They may feel underconfident. It's your job as the teacher to allow them to stand up and give them that confidence to share. So telling them to just share what they see is simple, but it's such a mammoth task for some of your kids. You need to understand that. And so tell them and celebrate every time they share so that they're building their confidence bit by bit. Next, movement breaks. Adults, students, no matter what age you are, you need to move your body after a certain amount of time so that you can stay alert. It's tiring to sit in one place for so long. Give them that break. Kids need movement, or you're going to see that they're fidgeting with their pencils, they're playing with their pen fight, they're passing chits in the class. All that happens because of lack of engagement, and they're just bored. They don't have the capacity to take in more information. And lastly, celebrate and share all your student responses. Talk about the responses and highlight what's positive about them. Highlight what they have done that's amazing, so that they're constantly building their confidence to share even when it may not be right. But then you tell them, I love that you were able to stand up and share in the class. And even if you've made a mistake, you're still learning, because now your friend's going to help you and tell you what else you can do instead. So your learning is constant. And so all of these are your big takeaways for the session. I've put them all down in Word form over here for you so that you can have a look. Getting ready timer, goal for the day, expectations and materials, plan for the day, put in activities, thinking structures, movement breaks, celebrate learning, give specific feedback. Don't just say your work was amazing. Tell them why their work was amazing, and positively narrate their behavior. And with that, in case you want to learn more, I've put up an online course for all of you. This course is done by Stanford University. It says for students, but honestly, it's really beneficial for teachers. I've personally done it. And the How to Learn Math for Students is I've linked it here. I'm going to share the link with you as well. But basically, this course is free for all learners. So I highly recommend that you do it. Sorry about that. Okay. How to Learn Math for Students. I'll post the link on the WhatsApp group as well. There's also a paid version. It's $99. And this one is How to Learn Math for Teachers. It's by a professor named Joe Bolo from Stanford University. And the course is just brilliant. And you'll learn many, many more strategies if you want to take this. It's self-paced. You can do it at your own time. And this one is free. And I've done it and I highly recommend it. And with that, I'm done with my session. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for participating and staying active engagers in my class. Thank you.
Thank you, Zara, for your lovely session. You have shown us how to make the maths classes very interesting and break away from the traditional approach where the teacher comes and she just writes the sums on the board and the children just look down into their notebooks and start solving. So I think it was a very interesting session and a very creatively presented session. Over to Alsona for the questions from the participants. Alsona.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we have a few questions that have come up. So I'll be asking them one by one. So the first question is, all these strategies are excellent, but in practical classroom, is it feasible to implement it as well as complete the portion on time?
Yeah, I was waiting for this question. So completing portion is definitely a reality for most of us. But like I said, with the elementary students, with your lower school students, your foundation needs to be strong. And in order to make your foundation as strong as possible, you need to spend time on these basics and teach them in a way where they're actually learning, connecting to the real world. So yes, portion is a struggle, and in reality, there's too much to cover. But I think that comes more with secondary classrooms. Like I said at the start of the session, I am a lower school elementary teacher, and I would advise all elementary teachers to even tell their coordinators that, guys, if our kids don't know the basics of math, going forward, portion completion is a dream that's not going to come into place. Right? Like, you need to be able to spend time with your kids in the lower school years doing things like this, so that then you're implicitly learning, right? I'm not a secondary teacher, so I can't advise on that. But for lower school teachers, please spend time on this. Don't be pressured by the system. Ask your educators and your coordinators and your seniors in the school to give you time to really spend to build that foundation strong, make it strong.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for your answer. The next question is, What are the strategies that can be used for children with special needs in lower class? For example, if the child has dyscalculia.
Give them the support that they need. Honestly, everything that I showed you in this session, I do with my children who are children with special needs. And a lot of this, like the getting ready timer, the thinking structure and things like this are especially for children with dyscalculia, because their confidence levels in math are below the lowest, right? Like they hate math because they're scared of math, but giving them these small baby steps of confidence to answer in the class, even if it's not math related, just sharing what they're seeing is giving them that confidence to then say, okay, I don't hate math, I'm getting that. And then if your child is struggling with calculation, how many of you are doing long division when you're actually needed to? Use a calculator. They have that support, give it to them. Give your students visuals to look at. They shouldn't be mugging up timetable, which is also why we build in that strategy of skip counting. A child with dyscalculia will much easily understand skip counting and using visuals rather than asking them to mug it up. So remember, consider each child differently. If a child does need something, you give them that support because they require it. Yeah. So use calculators. We do in our school.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. The next question is, how to engage special students who lose focus very easily because they aren't able to stay focused? And looking at the strategies that you have shared, it seems that the students will need to focus on what is happening in class.
So I would give them timers. I'll say, guys, we have 7 minutes in this class. Let's share only for 7 minutes and then give them a movement break because they need that much movement. I have a child in my class that couldn't sit when they first joined school. The child couldn't sit for like longer than 7 or 8 minutes. And then slowly we would pre-program the child and we'll be like, hey, it is an expectation for you to participate in that class. And I know you're finding it difficult to participate for that long. So all I'm asking for is a 7-minute timer. And I show him on my phone that I have put 7 minutes and I expect you to participate at least 2 times or thrice. So give them clear expectations and then I check every time that he's answered in the class, I tick it 1, 2, 3. And if you have a large class size, which most of you might have, ask a peer to be his checker and then tick it with him. Or if he's independent enough, tell him you tick every time you participate in the class. And once 7 minutes is over, you can go for a walk outside and come back. Because a child that's struggling with attention needs a lot more movement than a mainstream child. So give that movement to the child to pay attention.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, this question we've taken from the YouTube portal. So they are asking how to make the child learn tables in a creative manner so that they can retain it.
Use skip counting as your strategy. What are tables, right? We are doing, okay, I can see that there's 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. I can see the number 2 4 times. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Don't say 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s, because what is 2 1s are? It's not making any sense to them. But if they can see visually, I can actually show you that on my screen. Give me a second, I'll just share my whiteboard with you. And if the kids, yeah. So if the kids see 2, oh gosh, this is so difficult. I'm just gonna do dots. 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines. Now the kids can see that's 2, 2, and 2. And in the classroom, you can get really creative with this by saying, okay, today we're gonna skip count using butterflies, and then draw butterflies on your board. And then they go, okay, so that's 2, 4, 6, 6 butterflies. How many times did you see 2? I saw the number 2 3 times. So that means 3 times 2 is equal to 6. I don't have a stencil with me, so I'm just using my mouse pad. So excuse that. But visually, they can see that I can see 2 3 times, which is why I'm saying 3 times 2 is giving me 6. I'm counting 2 3 times, 2, 4, and 6. So they're not mugging up the tables, and build stories around it. You can say, okay, today I'm going to bake cookies, and I am going to bake, let's see, I have 2 trays and I want to put 5 cookies in each of them. So how many times do I count 5? I'm counting 5 2 times. So 2 times 5 will be 5, 10. My answer is 10. Don't make them mug it up. Understand it as a story.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your method with us. Ma'am, another question is, are the methods or techniques being a teacher that we are taught are effective enough to get the desired change from the students?
So are these strategies effective for desired change?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on my experience, I can say yes. Obviously, I'm speaking only from my experience, so you'll have to try it out to figure. But everything I've shared with you has been successful with my children. So yes.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. So we are still collecting some questions from both the platforms. So meanwhile, if any participant on Zoom want to ask questions to ma'am, then they can unmute themselves and also ask the question.
Maybe raise a hand and then you can choose someone, because people might.
Yes, so you can raise your hand in chat section and we can unmute you and you can ask your questions directly to ma'am. Also, ma'am, there are quite a few people who have been asking in chat that will they be able to connect with you personally because they would like to learn more from you. So at the end of the session, if you can share your email ID or anything with them, then I think our participants can connect with you.
Sure. I'll share that with you, but just a disclaimer, there are like, I think 1,000 responses in, and I do work, and so my responses may not be immediate, but I'll definitely come to you. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So we have one question that has come up. So all these strategies that you have explained, ma'am, how could these strategies be implemented for online classes looking at the current COVID situation? Is there some app other than the Zoom app for conducting such activities?
So, I mean, there are other platforms to do online classes, but currently, at least my school is using Zoom, and I personally feel like Zoom is the best platform to do this because you are able to see the kids while you share your screen. I know there's Microsoft Teams and there's Google Meets, but the struggle there is when a teacher shares their screen, they're not able to see the kids. And not being able to see the kids is a major breakdown because you're not checking for understanding. You're not seeing the visual cues of the child. So you're not able to gauge how well to pace the class. Another thing is use presentations. The same way that I have shown you my presentation, if you observe a classroom, whether I'm online or in the classroom, I use a presentation like this where I share the goal, I give them the timer, I share the plan, literally took you through exactly how I do it in my classroom. So for every class, I have a presentation. This is also for online learning currently, and that's how my kids stay engaged.
There's one more question, ma'am. Please, can you tell me basic life skills in math so that I could get my child with special needs to try to learn, for example, currency?
Great one, yeah. So when you're talking about basics that you want your child to learn, I would think about what you do in your real life that involves math. And like you said, currency is that number one thing, right? Doing transactions at a restaurant or in a shop, or even like understanding how to manage your accounts. And so budgeting is a great, like a great skill for your kids to have. I would say, also, sorry, to come back to the previous thing, there are online manipulators that you can use with your classroom because we don't have hands-on things like judo blocks. And I'll put that link on the WhatsApp chat as well. I'll just make a note of that. It's called iTools, and I can show you how to show that after I answer this question. Okay, so budget and currency. So honestly, you'll start from the basics, right? You'll show them the different kinds of notes that we have, the different denominations, and you'll ask them to be able to identify these. First, let them understand. Also, children with special needs and also some younger kids, they don't understand the value of 50 rupees versus 100 rupees. For them, it's just a note. They're not realizing that they have to pay and then get back change. So before starting with any of those bigger concepts, start small by just identifying what this note is and what the value of this note is. And by doing that, you'll say, okay, this Coke bottle is for this much and this is the money that I would pay. Versus like maybe a phone, which costs much, much more, right? Also, things like 10,000 is not a note. So it might get difficult for them to understand visually what 10,000 looks like until you put 10,000 rupee notes. I mean, now 2,000 rupee notes in front of them. So I think just there are fake money things that you can buy at stationery shops. That's what we use. And obviously the coins, and get them to play with that money. We do a lot of like pretend markets in our classes. We also have the high schoolers in our school having this like gateway cafe where they come up with the menu and charge what they need to, and then they sort of like facilitate the full thing. So I think just do constant play roles with your child for them to get familiar with how to use money. I'll just share the iTools, the online manipulative that we use in the classroom. It's something I use every day, which is why I have it so easily accessible. So it's called I Think Strategies. It's iTools from K6 Think Central. I'll just put this link on the chat. Also, thank you to everybody that's been asking things and commenting on the chat. I haven't been able to read anything as yet. Okay. So it does have Flash Player, so you need that on your computer. And so you have different kinds of counters and different activities you can do in your classroom. So you can use blocks. I have 2 blocks here. How many do I need to have 5? And then you do 2 and 3. I put them together and then I check 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have 5 blocks here. Again. And just like that, there are different tools you can use here. Judo blocks here, you have gummy bears. Also asking the kids what they want to use in the class builds student choice, student voice. So all of this is useful in class. So this is one online manipulative. I'm sure there are many, and if you guys are sharing, please help the other viewers. But yeah, this is something that also, can somebody share this link on the YouTube?
Yes, ma'am. We'll share this link in our WhatsApp groups as well, the one that you have put on the chat. Okay, ma'am, the next question is, should children be taught addition of 5-digit numbers at primary level?
The addition of numbers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they should be learning addition. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So this is pertaining to...
Share that when they're learning addition, don't directly go into the plus. Don't do like 2 + 3 is 5, because that's not going to make any sense to them. Build addition as I have 2 parts and I want to put them together to make a whole. That's what addition is, right? You're adding 2 things together to make a whole. They need to first conceptually understand that addition is bringing 2 things together to make a whole. And then once they've got their like basic math fluency in place, as in they're able to tell you 2 and 2. So don't use the plus sign, use the word and. 2 and 2 make 4, or 3 and 2 make 5. If they can start building that math fluency, once they've covered all of that, which takes a long time, I think I do 1 number bond a week. So yeah, it takes a long time. Then you introduce, okay, so instead of the and word in mathematics, we replace it with the plus sign. And when we want to balance this side with the other, we put an equal to sign to show that 2 + 2 gives me equals to 4. So it's a process, but yes, definitely teach addition to your kids at primary level.
Yes, ma'am. There is a question regarding to the iTools that you just shared. So the question is, can we use the iTools for making PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides?
No. So what I do is I embed this link into my PowerPoint presentation. So then when I'm sharing my screen, I just click on the link that I put into my presentation, and then it takes me to this. But it's a website and it's separate basically.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, the next question is regarding a specific topic. So can you please tell some practical activities on simplification topic in maths? Because the person who has asked this question has noticed that students do a lot of mistakes in while working with brackets in maths.
So working with brackets is again more elementary. Secondary. I personally haven't experienced that, so I wouldn't want to respond to that.
Okay, ma'am, no problem.
The primary, should they learn addition? Were you talking about single digit addition or 5-digit addition?
5-digit, ma'am.
Oh, no. Sorry, I missed, someone just shared that with me. I'm talking about like just 1 or maybe maximum 2 digits. So to understand also the progression that at least we use a curriculum called Common Core Standards, which really helps us break down what we should be teaching at what year. And I think 5-digit addition comes in about grades 5, 4, or maybe later of the 4th grade or like 5th grade. But primary years, no. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Yes. So the next question is, the activities and the strategies that you have shared, ma'am, are more suitable to IB board where they have less students per class. So will the same strategies be effective in a physical cramped classroom as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I've come from that physical cram classroom in my BMC experience to then a classroom with a smaller group size. And so I've experienced both of those. And the best way to incorporate learning and engagement in a large group size is to group your kids and especially group them into a mixed group. So don't just say, oh, my struggling learners should be grouped together so that I can focus on them, and my really advanced learners are in another group. Mix them up so that your students are learning from their peers as well. But the best way to do it is to group them.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, we'll be taking the last question of today's session. So the question is, student with hearing impairment have language barrier. So how to make them solve word problems at lower level? Simple word problems.
Hearing impaired.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, I have not experienced that before. None of our students are physically, don't have any physical disabilities. And so I would not be able to tell you. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So I think that's all the questions that we could have gathered from both the platforms. I request Vinny ma'am to take over.
Thank you, Alsona.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Alsona, for taking up those questions, and thank you, Zara, for answering the questions so patiently. Again, thank you for your session. I request Clarice to come up and propose the vote of thanks for today. Clarice? Yes, Clarice.
Clarice, are you there?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes,
you are audible.
Hello, everyone. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks to acknowledge the contribution of those who have worked really hard to make this day 1 of Sxie Maths webinar a great success. On behalf of St. Xavier's Institute of Education, Manager for the Blaise D'Souza, Principal Dr. Susama Samuel, Staff in charge Dr. Vinny Sebastian, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our speaker, Ms. ZARA PAREKH, who has spared time from her busiest schedule for this webinar. Today, we have been privileged and had this amazing opportunity to hear your session. And I'm sure all of this information will help us immensely in our respective careers. Thank you for explaining us so well the complexity, time approach, and purpose factors while teaching students mathematics and sharing your insights on how our teaching can be beneficial for our students with I see, I think, I wonder strategy. Thank you, ma'am, once again. Dear participants, thank you for your wholehearted participation as well. Hope you all are geared up with equal excitement for tomorrow's session at 11 a.m. The feedback form of this day webinar will be sent on your respective WhatsApp groups. Kindly fill it as well. See you all tomorrow. Take care, stay home and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clarice, for proposing the vote of thanks. Thank you, participants, for being with us. Tomorrow we have the session starting at 11 o'clock. So as usual, today we will follow the same procedure. The WhatsApp link and the Zoom link and the YouTube link will be put up at 11 o'clock, at 10:45, sorry. And you can join in. We have Professor Inder Rana tomorrow speaking on quality improvement in mathematics teaching. So see you tomorrow. Thank you once again and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Also, now please send the feedback forms.
Yes, we'll be putting them now on the WhatsApp group for everyone to fill.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
Okay, I'm leaving the meeting, but thank you guys so much. This was such a great opportunity. I'm feeling really grateful. Thank you, Neville.
Welcome, Zara. Should we end meeting for all?
Yes, I think we can.
Okay. Someone needs to end the YouTube streaming. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.